The Fair Dish. In a green and pleasant corner of the English countryside, where a babbling brook tumbled over mossy stones and ancient oaks spread their shady arms, lived a fox and a crane. Now these two were the unlikeliest of acquaintances. The fox, whose name was Reynard, was a creature of earthly cunning. His coat was the colour of autumn leaves, his tail was a magnificent brush, and his mind was a perpetual whirlwind of sly thoughts and clever schemes. The crane, named Celeste, was a creature of airy grace. She had legs as slender as reeds, feathers as white as fresh cream, and a long, elegant beak that she used with the precision of a surgeon. Despite their differences, they had struck up a curious friendship, often chatting by the riverbank in the cool of the evening. Reynard was charmed by Celeste's gentle nature, and Celeste was amused by Reynard's sharp wit. One sunny afternoon, Reynard had a thought, a foxy thought, which was to say it was equal parts charming and mischievous. "My dear Celeste," he said, with a flick of his whiskers, "we have been friends for some time now. You simply must allow me to host you for dinner. I shall prepare a feast in your honour this very evening at my den." Celeste, who was always polite, was touched by the invitation. "Why, Reynard, how very kind of you. I should be delighted to accept." As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet, Celeste made her way to Reynard's home, a cosy den tucked into the roots of a large oak tree. A delicious aroma wafted from the entrance, a rich, herby scent that made her stomach rumble in anticipation. Reynard had indeed prepared a feast. A creamy mushroom soup, his own special recipe, simmered to perfection. "Welcome, welcome," he exclaimed, greeting her with a theatrical bow. "Please, make yourself comfortable. I have just the meal to warm your feathers." He bustled about, and then, with a grand flourish, placed their dinner on a low, flat stone that served as his table. The soup was served in two beautiful, wide, shallow dishes, polished to a shine. Reynard, without further ceremony, lowered his snout and began to lap up the delicious soup with gusto, his long tongue darting in and out, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Isn't it exquisite?" he mumbled, his mouth full. "Do tuck in, my dear, before it gets cold." But Celeste could do no such thing. She stood over her plate, her heart sinking. The fragrant steam rose to meet her, but the soup itself was completely out of reach. Her long, slender beak, so perfect for plucking fish from the river, was utterly useless for eating from a flat dish. She could only dip the very tip of it into the liquid, managing to get nothing more than a single, frustrating drop. She pecked and prodded politely, trying her best not to show her disappointment, but it was no good. All the while, Reynard lapped and slurped, finishing his own portion, and then, with a sly, "You don't seem very hungry, my dear. Allow me," he polished off hers as well. Celeste left the den that evening with an empty stomach and a heavy heart. She understood the trick that had been played on her. The fox's hospitality had been a cruel joke designed only for his own amusement. She flew home, her elegant silhouette dark against the moon, feeling both foolish and hurt. For a few days, Celeste kept to herself. She thought about Reynard's mean-spirited prank. She could have been angry, she could have vowed never to speak to him again. But Celeste was as wise as she was graceful. She decided that the best response was not revenge, but a lesson. A week later, she sought out Reynard by the brook. "My dear Reynard," she said, her voice as calm and clear as the water itself, "it was so good of you to have me for dinner. Now you must allow me to return the favour. Please join me at my nest this evening. I shall, too, prepare a soup." Reynard's ears pricked up.
His own trick had amused him so much that the thought of another free meal was irresistible. "My dear Celeste, I would be honoured," he declared, already imagining what delicious fish soup she might prepare. That evening, Reynard trotted along the riverbank to Celeste's nest, which was beautifully woven into a high clump of reeds. She greeted him warmly. "Welcome, Reynard. I'm so glad you could come." The air was filled with the most tantalizing smell, a delicate soup of minnows and watercress. Celeste, with great poise, brought forth the dinner. She served it in 2 magnificent, tall, glass jugs, with each a long and very narrow neck. "Do begin," she said sweetly. Celeste dipped her long, fine beak into her jug and drank the soup with ease and enjoyment, sighing with pleasure. "I do hope it is to your liking," she said. Reynard stared at his jug, his jaw slack. The delicious soup was right there, inches from his nose, but he could not get a single drop. His broad snout would not fit into the narrow opening. He tried to poke his tongue inside, but it was too short. He tried tilting the jug, but it was too heavy and the neck was too long. He could only sit there, his stomach growling, and watch helplessly as Celeste elegantly finished her entire meal. The wonderful smell was a torment, a reminder of the feast he could see but not touch. He sat there for a long time, the heat of embarrassment rising in his cheeks. He looked at the impossible jug, then at Celeste's calm, knowing eyes, and he finally understood. He had been repaid in kind. His own cleverness had been served back to him, and it tasted of nothing but hunger and shame. "Celeste," he said at last, his voice quiet and humbled, "I see now that I have been a very poor friend, and even worse, host. Your lesson is a fair one." Celeste simply nodded, her expression gentle. "One should never treat a guest in a way one would not wish to be treated oneself, Reynard. True hospitality comes from the heart, not from a desire to amuse oneself at another's expense." Reynard trotted home that night, hungry but much, much wiser. And from that day on, it was said that Reynard the fox became the most thoughtful and considerate host in the entire countryside.